Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
The second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Speedway. We've got Devin Borden with us.
At Keene Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keene.
Sitting here with Sean Keene. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
What's going on out there? Turn 2 Terribles. It is May 1st, 2023. Happy Monday to everybody. Still pretty rainy here in PA. It's been miserable to say the least the past few days. Didn't really get much racing in over the weekend, but that doesn't stop us from talking about racing here. There's still plenty of racing going on around the country that we could talk about. And we did get a little bit of racing in PA this past weekend. So that's what we'll talk about today. And we're going to also take a little bit of a preview of what May will bring, starting to look at the forecast here. It's looking pretty good. So my name is Jimmy. I'm joined here with Chris and Jeremy. Guys, how's it going?
Fantastic, sir. Chris, how are you doing, buddy?
All right. A little stuffed up. Allergies or something.
Shouldn't be too many allergies right now. Too much rain for anything to be flying in the air.
Maybe I'm dying. I don't know.
Oh, that's probably it, I would say. Option
I don't
B.
know if you guys saw the picture of Bapsta, but they could have totally raced yesterday. I don't know. You could race around the pond. It's not
nobody stands in that area anyway,
Right. Exactly. So I don't get it.
Crazy. Wild.
Just don't have the passion, I guess.
Yeah, they just don't want
Boats. Did you get the boats delivered yet?
The way it's been going this past weekend, we could have been watching boat races. A lot of rain, a lot of flooding around. I know my area had some mudslides and roads washed out and shit. So it's been soggy. The next couple of days look pretty soggy, but this upcoming weekend and beyond look good, at least so far for forecast. So we should be able to get in some of these bigger races that are going to come in to play here in PA. We'll talk about that later. I guess let's recap the past week. Obviously, Williams Grove, Port Royal, Lincoln, Baps, all of them axed. Just for rain, just couldn't get too much. Only races around here were Bloomsburg on Thursday and Path Valley on Saturday was really the only one to get it in. I was at Bloomsburg on Thursday. Jeremy, you were at Path Valley on Saturday. how soggy was it for you?
It was muddy. I mean, I walked around the infield. The pits were good. They have a really nice pit area for the cars, and it was paved. But I got in the infield, and I'm glad I wore the boots because they was ankle deep. I mean, it was wet and heavy for sure, and uh, you know, as expected, they got the show in. The weather was really great. Honestly, standing there and being there, it was awesome outside. But you definitely knew it had rained a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that for sure. But was super impressed with what they did. They even reworked the track during the event. They tilled it up and tried to make it a little bit wider and racier and smoother. Um, I don't think it worked as far as like a lot of torn up race cars, but I mean, great turnout of cars for sure. I mean, $35 a head into pit gate, they did fine with the divisions and the people that supported them, the racetrack, the race, and their families of the race cars. So um, I was just happy to see a race.
Yeah, I went to Bloomsburg on Thursday. Weather was perfect. It was right before all the rain hit. It was a really nice night out, so I didn't have to worry about any of that. But so yeah, at least we got something in. We got a little bit to talk about. Let's jump back, though, to Tuesday. We'll go a little more with national stuff here with the High Limit Series at 34 Raceway out in, I think, West Burlington, Iowa. Posse, man, pretty much dominated by the Posse. That whole race, you had Brent was really the cream of the crop there for the first half of the race, and then here comes old Anthony Macri to come in and take the win there. Obviously, too, earlier in the night, probably the biggest storyline from that race was Alex Bowman getting injured in a pretty wicked crash where the frame, just hit the ground. And it cracked one of his vertebrae. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks. But yeah, Macri, man, I mean, that car was on fire almost literally with the way his brakes were sparking. Thoughts from the race?
Chris.
Good. I mean, I tuned in for the feature. I think it was impressive seeing from being here, watching Macri's kind of development from where he was 2 years ago, being that high side, just rip it and hope the car stays together long enough to win, to he kind of finessed it on the bottom there, fended off Larson. Larson charged from 10th. So I think it's just building off of what Macri did last year to what he's already started to do this year. It's building that playbook up, kind of like you see guys like Dan Dietrich around here and Lance Deweese around here. He's adding to his playbook.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's all around impressive. The trajectory, the improvement. He goes these probably the thing that's impressed me the most. I've seen him race a ton around here, right? We've seen him dominate races. We've seen him come from the back, high side, whatever. We all kind of got used to it around here. But what's impressed me even more than that is when he goes to these racetracks for the first time and is fast and competitive and makes great laps and wins these races against the best in the world at places he's never seen. And there's a couple guys out there right now that are doing that, and one of them's like Buddy Kofoid. Everywhere he's been this year, he's been fast. First time there, you can say you raced a midget there or whatever, but even if the races tracks he hasn't, he's been impressive. And Macri's doing some of those things. And I mean, we all know the 410 division anywhere is hard to do. It's hard to do it. He's going to places he's never seen and being very successful. So to me, that's probably just as impressive as anything else we've seen him do, which is just a lot. I mean, the Tusky last year was 19th, the first.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of laps to do it, but a great field. I mean, fantastic field to have to beat, and guys he had to pass were the best in the business. Some of them and did it almost as impressive to win this, $24,000 to win race in Iowa. He's never seen the joint before, to my knowledge, and goes and beats and passes these guys. So super impressive.
Yeah, he's been fast just about anywhere he goes here in PA, going outside. We started seeing it last year. He won the Rudine race, that was kind of an eye opener for me, just because he kind of runs okay. He was running okay outside PA, but for him to go and he dominated that race, really. So he's kind of picking up where he left off and continuing that progression. So really impressed with him. He's a guy that can maybe go as he continues to travel with these big series, that he might be a threat to win. He might be like Brent Marks here, where he's a threat to win wherever. So that's good. That's good for all these Posse haters around the country, because we'll give you our best and we'll show you what we got, and then when you guys come here, we're gonna beat you. That's really the mentality, right? The kind of the I don't want to say the mentality, but the attitude we got right now here in PA when it comes to that. So I was really impressed with him. I was impressed with Brent Marks too. He had a good race, but just the way he lapped traffic and some stuff fell.
Kind of got caught there. He got the lead around Buddy, I think, and then the caution came out. It kind of set him back, and he got caught in the wrong spot and got passed. But I think it's interesting if you look at the top three in points. And it's only 2 races, but you have Tyler Courtney, Kyle Larson, Macri, all 1 point apart, and they're kind of breaking away from the field. So kind of shows you so 2 events now. Mac, it's not just he ran good at 34. He was good. He's making the dashes, I think, both times, making his nights easy from the beginning. And to be in a even early group with Larson and Tyler Courtney's impressive. Being right there, basically tied with them.
Yeah, 47 cars, I believe. So I think it's pretty clear that these high limit races, 45 is probably going to be like a low count. 40, 45 cars are probably going to be a low count. Wherever they go, they have a good core following them. You're going to have a lot of guys that go to these races from the Outlaws and the All Stars that aren't on it necessarily full time, but might pick and choose some. We saw Brock Zierfoss was a last minute kind of entry that chose to race for whatever reason, but he was pretty fast. He made it to the dash. He looked pretty good until he didn't, until he got into the wall. He was following, I think it was Zeb Wise or I don't know, somebody, but he got tight out of 4 and hit the wall and kind of ended his night. But he was running pretty well too. So the cars there's going to be a lot of cars there no matter where they go. So that being said, get rid of these support divisions. It's a Tuesday night show. You're going to have 40, 50, maybe 60 cars at some of these tracks, especially once you get into the summer and you're racing around, the Outlaw schedule a little bit too, for some of these bigger races.
I think so. If you get rid of support division, everyone says downtime at the track, all this stuff. But I think there's a unique situation here with high limit. It just popped in my head. You're going to new places not newer places, but places that don't always have major touring series at. Like we have Grandview coming up, Lernerville. We talked with AJ Flick.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have usually touring sprint cars. Why not use that downtime to have like a Chase Rodman type guy going through the pits and interviewing all these talented guys coming from everywhere in the country, and that'd be your filler. That'd interact with the fans, maybe in the pits, maybe on the front stretch, wherever. Get their sponsors out there. You have all but the best of the best in the country, minus a few outlaw guys and so like that.
You don't need a lot of filler either. When you have so many cars, they're kind of trying to rush the night through anyway because it's a Tuesday night.
Right. Like you're still going to get your guys through the dash and things when they do their draw. But if you go and just get the guys, like Brian Brown was a hard charger the other night. Things like that, just get little nuggets, something that would be enough, I think, to kind of keep the show moving without having, like we had a 305 feature last forever.
Yeah, it was
15 minutes, but they got like
painful
4.5 laps. Yeah. Jeremy, you had thoughts, it looked like.
He still has thoughts.
Jeremy has lots of thoughts.
Everything you shut off. Sorry. I do. I debate this one a little bit. Yeah. It does create a moment where, Chris, your idea is not wrong. Okay, you're there. Okay, but if the idea of that break is to let the teams get ready, they're getting ready. I don't know how many of them are going to want to necessarily stop, talk. They probably will, but if it's not planned, how long are these guys going to walk around and find a guy who's willing and ready to talk and will be worth it, and might be a little chaotic and broken and whatever.
And I guess that's the question: is it for teams or is it for the track? That's the question. I guess.
I like the idea. The thing I have, and keep perspective though, these races have been Central Time. we complain because it's been an hour later than we want to be. There is something to that. If this went to 11 o'clock our time, right, it's 10 o'clock there. But if it ended at 10 o'clock our time with a sport division, would you be okay with it?
Yeah,
Like,
but that's
it's not
not
that late.
likely.
But
I don't think
it
it's
could
very
have
likely.
been, right? It very well could have been. And that they put a time limit on that 305 feature for a
Yeah.
reason, which I was thrilled to see. That to me, it was like, okay, we're thinking we're not just going to let this thing play out until there's 3 cars left. It didn't go well, but it very well could have, and it could have been one done and
Value.
out and out
Could
the
have been
door, right?
value added,
You
right?
don't have a crystal ball, and it was a sprint car division. It wasn't the worst thing I'd seen as a sport division by far. But I think if that's on East Coast time, it would have not felt as late, right? Because we had an hour disadvantage, and they can't really cater to the East Coast, right? They got to figure out the program where they're sitting and make it make sense for where they're at.
Right.
So, like I always struggle with that with outlaw shows when they go, Central Time or even further, and I'm like, holy shit, it's late, and they got support divisions and stock cars. Well, they're putting on a show where they're at. They're not putting on a show for me on the East Coast, So, um, I'm 50-50 because that didn't go well. I think it made it worse feeling for all of
Right.
us, and that hour later that we are from where they were. So,
So
I'm from the
even
camp. I would be okay. I'm okay with support division. I'm okay with the downtime, like you do at a single division outlaw show. Go have it, talk with your friends, go get your food, whatever. I'm just giving options. Like I'm at the track. I'm not really picky about much of anything. So
and I know I'm in the minority, but the Lincoln Outlaw Show on a Wednesday, I've always thought they should have a support division. I've always thought they should have a support division because no matter what they do or don't, the shit gets dragged out for hours anyway.
it's
They
true.
could have ran something during the event. They drag out the show on purpose anyway. They don't rush through that night. We're going to be there late no matter what. It starts at 7 or 7:30, and we're still there till 11 o'clock. Well, what are we doing in this downtime? What's the
Right.
downside of paying an $800 or $1,000 to win support division? Brings out 25 cars, and you get all that pit money as a track. Wednesday night or not, they drag the shit out. So put a decent show on. Put some late models on the track or something. I've always thought that. I know I'm in the minority, and honestly, a lot of those nights the track could have used more cars on it. Like even if there's
right,
50 outlaws, there's sometimes in the heats are some of the worst heats we see all year during the outlaw show. Comes around for the feature and that's great, but the heats are garbage. So could the track use a few more laps from another division? I
right.
can
I
make
have
that
a,
case in years.
I mean, maybe not with Lincoln, but like even at 34, I mean, you had 2 grooves. I looked like maybe it was taking a little bit of rubber. The track was pretty
It
blown
can
out.
go the opposite direction where the cars hurt it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean,
So
I think
it's a fine line. I get it.
I want to go
But
saying like Dakota saying in the chat, even like a Thunder car division. I think the first time it had a stock car division of some kind. What they do, I saw it at Waders Grove a couple of weeks ago when the street stocks were there. They run such a different line for whether they're trying to or not. They're running a different line than the outlaw guys. Are just so precise. Same line, same line. It takes forever to push it up. Those other guys, they kind of just knock it all in a little bit. To Jeremy's point, they got Lincoln where it would help it. They're gonna run wherever they gotta go, and it's gonna widen that track out quicker. So I mean,
And there's
it's
years
pros
where
and cons.
there were years where like I'm glad they didn't have one, but I think most years, more often than not, I always leave thinking, man, I think they're missing an opportunity for both the surface and some of the downtime. I don't know if legends are the right thing because you get 65 of them, right? And that can be just grueling and actually drag the program on longer. But if you get a field of 18 to 24, whatever, if you can predict and how that works, a super late model class, you're not going to get 55 of them, or 358 late models or, something. I don't know the perfect answer because
Right.
again, don't run a
I
track here. But
I
I've always
think
thought that it could be something.
some variation too, and we talked about it. Jimmy, you talked about it with Brett Perigo the other day. Like Winners Grove's doing for some of these divisions where they just have invite only. If you have a big enough show, bring like I know Port does it. I think end
yep,
of the year for just bring your 24 305s or your
yeah, and
24
split them up
legends
in 2 heats.
and just have them
Just
out
go.
there. Give those guys that are loyal to your track and your program the big crowd, the big attendance and everything, but not jeopardize the show by having 80 legend cars just murder the
Mm.
whole night.
For
Go ahead.
me, a midweek show, especially with something like High Limit, what a High Limit's trying to do, it's all about the money going to the sprint cars. Who cares if it ends at 9:30? Then let the fans get into the pits and meet the drivers.
Right, there's that
I'm
part.
fine with like a tight 2.5 hour show of just sprint cars if there's 50 cars. I'd rather see that than it drag on till 10, 11 o'clock at night and we're watching a 305 feature that has 15 cautions. And the 305 guys didn't even get to run their whole feature because of how bad it was. You know what I mean? Is it worth it for them to come out too? So I'd rather err on the side of, because even if you only get 35 cars, which I don't see that happening with high limit, unless the weather's really iffy or something like that. But even if you get 35 cars, it's still a full. You're going to have a B main, you're going to have a dash, you're going to have all that. You still have a full show. So
it's all pros and cons. Like it's hard for.
But
we don't run a track, so it's hard for us.
Right, and I do get it. It does help wear the track and make for a little bit of better racing. It's a fine line, for sure. But let us know what you think in the chat of that. I know Dakota said best support division is Thunder Cars. Bring back Thunder Cars for every race. Thunder Cars, street stocks, whatever you want to call them. Road Runners, I think is what they call them at Selinsgrove. I love that division. They always put on one of the best shows of the night when they run.
Just the type boat. I think we didn't mention. Was it Morel that was in the crash with Bowman?
Yeah.
I'm glad that he was okay.
Yeah.
From everything, and I mean that was gnarly for him. Like his car was junked, and I don't want to leave him go unmentioned.
Yeah, he's okay. I don't want to go to the who's at fault on that one, but
it's just one of those things.
Conor Morel was, but that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't want to say it, but
and the last thing. So
I don't know what he was doing. I don't know where he was going. Maybe I missed something.
Yeah,
he was going low, I guess. So the dice roll, they pass it up again. We talked about that, I think, last week. Or Zach Hampton, we talked about that. Like Brent said.
They even asked them after they rolled, like, what would it take for you to take it?
Brent, if I was going to start a row back, I would have maybe thought about taking it. And even then, I might think about it. Kind of Zach said, it's tough. The incentive's not there for you to go even a row back, even though like Macri and those guys came up. But if you had a pole sitter, how do you give that up?
Yeah, I agree.
Something that's sort of semi-related. It's an outlaw deal. That outlaw race at Lincoln. Do you know to win? How much it is to win?
Is it 8,000?
Probably 10.
$7,500 for a lot of years. Is there a minimum now that's higher?
It's 10. It's 10 grand minimum for the Outlaws.
Weekday. I know it was on the weekend.
I think it.
So for a long time,
I thought it was 10 grand for everything.
Well, every weekend it is minimum, but a weekday show for a long time is $7,500. It's not advertised on the Outlaw site. It's not advertised on Lincoln's site. Lincoln's site doesn't show the win, but you go down a couple on like the schedule here, and you go down and look, and they're showing 10,092 to win the Go-Brecht. They show 8,000 to win Speed Week show, but they don't advertise the Outlaw show how much it is to win. If that's really $7,500 to win a World of Outlaw show at Lincoln Speedway, isn't that kind of a joke?
A little bit. I mean, a lot of it, actually.
I mean, $40 to get in per person, pit passes, right? $7,500 to win. We have a Speed Week show that's going to pay more.
$45 pit pass, man.
Right? Yeah, I noticed years past Lincoln. The Outlaw ticket for the Lincoln show was always like 35 or 40 for general admission. It was, and then the Grove's like 25 or 30.
It doesn't even show what it is to win on the Outlaw website. It's got to be somewhere within the Outlaws, though.
That's what I'm looking at.
I couldn't find it. Event info doesn't say a thing. Like you scroll down through the whole event info, it doesn't say a thing. If anybody knows out there what it is to win that Lincoln show, for a long time it was $7,500. If it's still $7,500 to me, that's an embarrassment.
It'll probably come out when they because the only thing they have on there now is their Eldora notes for this upcoming weekend. They'll probably come out with theirs for Lincoln and Williams Grove sometime, maybe at the end of the week or beginning of next week. I don't see anything else though. That's usually when it lists all the payout money. It's a good question though. Either way, Lincoln will probably get about 40 cars.
Oh, it'll be more than that probably. I don't know. Where are the All Stars somewhere that weekend?
He's Tony Sharp says it's on the flyer that I sent.
Timing. Bring that graphic up. There's one for the Clash, I think.
10K to win.
10K.
Okay, so it's 10K to win. That's a little better, but it's 10,092 to win a non-outlaw sanctioned race for a speed week show in a couple weeks. Um, I don't know. I just in 2023, that just seems like a kind of a I don't know what the word is. Maybe I'm just being rude at this point, but
I think we're a little spoiled too in PA
Right.
because, I mean, you wouldn't normally 10K to win's a lot anywhere except for PA. It seems like at
Right.
this
We figured
point.
like the Friday night portion of the Morgan Cup's 10K. We just had one of those
yeah, but that's a
for
prelim
8.
night.
Right. Like, I get it.
But that's the minimum for the Outlaws. Like the Outlaws, they'll go and run bumblefuck wherever and run for 10K, and that's a lot. That's probably our highest paying race maybe of the year. So for here, I get it. I agree. I think that it could be bumped up a little bit more, but is that on the Outlaws or is that on Lincoln? Or,
Yeah,
or,
that's
not
what I don't
necessarily calling Lincoln out, but
I think it's a mix of both. I mean, the Outlaws are only
Well,
going to pay out what they want to or need to, I
it's
guess.
got to be Lincoln because there's a minimum to get an outlaw show. You have to pay
Right.
10 grand. If
Yeah.
you choose to do more, right? You get sponsors, you do whatever. That's the track,
That's true. Yeah.
right? So doing the minimum, just do the minimum. All right. What
Shout
else?
out Tony Sharp with all these graphics with PA Dirt Track and creative. He does some really good work. Check him out on Facebook. We'll share some of his links. They do some really good work on the socials with graphics and everything, and just overall information and promotion. So,
Yeah, follow his socials. Does good graphics. It's good relevant info. We actually sent me a few of them. Him and I have worked together on some of the graphic stuff. I sent him a few shots so he can put them on the graphic, make it look good. And he does really the hard work. I didn't do anything, but some good relevant info, Central PA points, and really some flyers for upcoming races, which we'll get to here in a minute about this weekend before we get to the outlaw stuff here. What's coming up this weekend, and hopefully we see some racing. But
a little comment from him, and the admission prices are not Lincoln. They were set from the Outlaws. Lincoln had no say. Payout is basically 50-50. So
Interesting.
that makes sense. I mean, Outlaws got to get their piece of the pie, and the track's got to get their piece of the pie, and the drivers get what's ever left. So that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, so we'll get into that here in a little bit. So any more other thoughts from High Limit?
Nope.
They're going to be going to Kokomo. Oh, go ahead.
Or Wednesday. Sorry. Go ahead.
Wednesday.
Kokomo,
Yeah. They'll be going to Kokomo on Wednesday. It was supposed to be tomorrow. Rain pushes it out. So Kokomo, I'm excited to see some wing sprint cars at Kokomo. It's been a while. So I know the Outlaws haven't been going there.
Last time I saw a wing race there when the Outlaws were there, that was a show.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. And this seems like a Tyler Courtney kind of racetrack, doesn't it? I mean,
I agree.
like
I think
when you were reading the points off there, and I'm thinking, man, Kokomo, that feels like it's got Tyler Courtney written all over it. And then are there going to be any outlaw guys there? Which ones and how many?
Right. Yeah. This is 23 to win, so it's not one of their 50 grand to win races. So you might not see maybe the heavy hitters, but you might see,
like a James McFadden.
Yeah. If I was James McFadden, I'm definitely running.
I'm cashing in my 4 races while I can.
Yeah.
They're appealing, so he gets to race until that's heard, right? Did that get heard?
Yes.
Yeah, it gets heard. I think I saw next week.
So for those of you listening who might not know, is James McFadden had a tire sample, him and Roth Motorsports. That's not necessarily James McFadden himself, but they had a tire sample taken, and they found a foreign substance on it. So now they are faced with a fine, points, and a 4-race suspension. Right now, they got the race this past weekend because they're in an appeal process, so that's kind of on hold. But that's the situation with James McFadden right now.
Is it 4 races or 4-week suspension?
4 races.
4 races. So it ended up being like $8,200 by giving the purse money from I-55 back plus another $2,000. So not a pretty time.
No, maybe the appeals process, maybe they get a little bit of money not taken away or something like that. But I don't know all the details, but I don't see it getting overturned or anything.
Team says, I don't know. I heard something about lie detector tests and all kinds of stuff. So from Justin Fielder, Dirt Tracker, he said it.
Interesting.
Through the grapevine, I guess part of the appeal process is they can take polygraphs, and the team all did that and passed, but that doesn't obviously mean anything other than they passed that test. And that's just a part of the appeal process. So we'll see. Interesting stuff.
First time we're hearing something with this new tire too. You know what I mean? you hear this stuff all the time, but we haven't really heard anything about tires like with the foreign substance. What was the last one? Probably Halligan a couple years ago. I think that's the last time I heard somebody.
Or that USAC mess,
Yeah, the
The USAC mess, yeah.
that shit show that went on.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, it's
interesting.
been a while.
I thought I saw somewhere through the grapevine rumors about maybe Macri's getting a sample taken, but they're probably everybody's just going to get a sample taken at this point. Now that we know something, but somebody found something.
And I heard, and I guess the Outlaws have tightened up their tech process too. Is also something that Justin Fiedler said. So whatever that means, maybe they'll find that traction control.
Yeah. About that.
Well, I guess let's stick on the topic with the Outlaws. Let's recap their weekend. Friday, they were at Tri-City Speedway in Illinois. David Gravel ran away with that one pretty handily. Let me go back and get these results here.
I was dozing off at this one. I was struggling making it to the end of that one, but yeah, he had that pretty well in hand. It sounded like, it looked like, pretty much most of the night. Good night for him. He needed a good night. Not that he was struggling, but he had DNF recently and come back and get a win. So I'm sure that was pretty good for those guys.
Him and Parker Price Miller. Parker Price Miller finished third. They both led 15 laps. Logan Schuart rounded out the podium in third. PPM was out there in the front in the beginning, but then Gravel just kind of did what Gravel does. Buddy Kofoid plus 12 as the hard charger finished sixth. Nothing really crazy from that. I thought the track was good. Stands were packed, but nothing really crazy.
Yeah, I didn't hear a lot of
see him back. It was their first time back in 15 years or something like that.
Didn't hear a lot of great things going into that about that facility and that track, but it put on a decent enough show. Could have certainly been worse. We've seen worse. So probably, good for them to have a good showing.
Some with the facility, just from the outside looking in through the stream on Dirt Vision, some of the fencing there was a little sketchy, but hopefully it would do its job if anything would to go at it. But good to see them. Pack stands, maybe it should help them. Continue to improve that facility. Then Saturday was a pretty good show, relatively speaking. They were at Tri-State and Hopstadt. Track is so weird. It's
unique.
It's the shape is fine. It's whatever, but it's just surface, man. I don't like it. It goes through. I mean, first of all, they'll rework it 2 or 3 times, and then it's either really slimy or you're hugging the bottom, and then you come feature time and you can run wherever you want. So they figure it out somehow, but it's definitely interesting, that track. Brady Bacon, though, it was awesome to see him win his first World of Outlaw race. He has been doing the wing stuff a little bit more here the past couple of years, but there's a lot of non-wing guys. Obviously, you're in Indiana, so there's a lot of non-wing guys putting the wing on, and most of them ran pretty well, considering. And Brady was the cream of the crop there. Only led 3 laps, but he ran down Sheldon Haudenschild and passed him. I mean, in traffic, and he ended up winning by over a second. So that was very impressive.
His car was amazing at the end there, and even if you have a really good car, to go past Sheldon Haudenschild at a Sheldon Haudenschild type track in lap traffic, people don't just do that. You don't just do that. So. And Sheldon had to work his ass off to get to the lead, and that was a battle there. So it was super impressive, and I was smiling the whole time. Like I'm a Brady Bacon fan. Whenever he does well, it's good for all of dirt track racing, in my opinion. Whether he crosses across all of those things, you see him in Chili Bowl, you see him with a non-wing, you see him with a wing, you see him in a Silver Crown car, you see him racing all of them.
Shootout.
Doesn't matter. And a guy like that going and winning at at a track like that it's a good thing for everything for dirt track racing.
Dakota saying, just throwing it out there, Brady Bacon was really good in the wing back in the day, especially with the ASCS. But it's not something he has been really doing for the past 4 or 5 years. Just very sporadic.
He used to run all of PA Speed Week. He would come in, and that was like a yearly thing, and he had T-shirts made for PA Swing, and he kind of slowed down on that some, and like Rico kind of took that mantle a little bit coming into PA, running Speed Week as an invader. But Brady Bacon's a fan favorite everywhere he goes. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
There's a couple of guys missing, maybe from Hopstop, because Knoxville was running like a guy like Rico Macri, who ran. He ran pretty decent, I think, on Friday.
He finished 13th, I think I saw.
Yeah.
Macri, Brian Brown.
Some of those guys that ran Friday did not go Saturday. They went to Knoxville for their season opener that ended up getting rained out as they were all like
there
about at the track or at the track. So sucks for them. But back to the Outlaw race. I really thought it was just going to be Carson Macedo running away with it. He won the past 3. He won his heat. He won the dash. He led 21 laps. Late race restart kind of changed all that, though, and gave it to Sheldon, and then Brady ran him down. So hella impressive. It was cool to see. It was cool to see a traditional sprint car guy win his first one, especially in Indiana. And, like I said, a lot of those other non-wing guys ran pretty well. Justin Grant ran pretty well. He finished 15th. Dason Pursley made his first, I don't know if it's his first wing start, but I know it was his first Outlaw start. He made the feature. He ran 17th. He had guys like Joe B. Miller. He runs ASCS and stuff, though, and wing stuff, but he's another guy that kind of runs a little bit of everything. Who else was there? Chris Wyndham. There's somebody else that I'm missing that I was like, oh, yeah, it's a surprise. Emerson Axum.
There it is. I was like, my brain was like froze on it, but like the Dason Pursley thing, that journey that kid's been on, man, is super impressive to see him out there at the top levels, back at it this quickly and doing a great job. And he was impressive in that heat. I mean, he held off Logan, I believe, in that heat, and to transfer in, didn't have to run the B main or anything. So it was interesting hearing his interview too about like, man, they pushed me around these first couple laps, but I started to figure out lap by lap. Well, it was like 8-lap heat race, and he's figuring it out, right? Like, it's pretty impressive. The kid's obviously talented for sure.
Yeah, we will see what that happens. And I think something that's just you're going to continue to see this. That's why I'm wondering who's going to. I would imagine a lot of these guys are going to be back at Kokomo Wednesday night.
I think what it does, maybe I'm a little off here, but I think it pushes USAC to up the purses and stuff, because you've seen Tyler Courtney come over and be making bank. Now, it doesn't work for everybody. Like Wayne Wyndham, I don't think his transition has been as smooth as Tyler Courtney's was, but the money's there. They're showing that they can go do it. It puts the pressure on USAC and other places to kind of step up the money now. It's the same car, basically, as far as expense goes. So
it's the whole reason why these guys are putting a wing on it, is to go run for more money. A lot of them have been pretty open about that. So just as long as they keep running USAC full time,
Right, for sure.
But
I think they do that because I think they enjoy that style more.
Yeah.
But it's all checks and balances. You got to cash a check somewhere.
I mean, your non-wing to your wing, it's just a ladder series to get to the late models where the real money is. So, that's just
right.
That's the evolution.
So Outlaws now will go to Eldora with USAC. Let's Race 2 Friday and Saturday. Should be pretty good car counts for both sides there. Weather's looking pretty decent. So we'll see that. That should be fun after High Limit on Wednesday. So schedule really starts getting picking up here in May. So it's really starts getting into the heart of the season here as summer starts to crank up here in a couple weeks.
It's Jimmy's favorite segment time.
What?
Tell us about Bloomsburg.
I'll keep it quick. Bloomsburg was awesome on Thursday night. They ran the same divisions. Same. They got more cars though, and all division, pretty much all of them except for maybe the speedsters. I think they got the same amount. They had like a full feature for the mods that put on a great show. Surface was great again. There was a article in the paper the day after about more of the legal issues with there, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds with it because I don't know everything, but obviously, pretty much they're been going back and forth with with uh, with the noise ordinance, and I understood with the town with the dust, but I really don't think the noise is that bad, especially with what they got going on this year. It's pretty quiet. They're race cars, they're gonna be, but nothing worse than if you have some loud tuner cars going down your street too, which they complain about too. So I get it, but it does. The town's interested, and I was gonna do a fire off segment on a certain group of people because when I walk down the pit, from the pits down the backstretch, it goes along the alleyway, and there are people, at their, in their houses, either on the roof or out in their driveway watching, or there's people up against the fence watching. People were bringing their cars down and watching like out of their like truck and everything. And I'm just like, that's great. It's great to show interest. I love it, personally, but, get into the track. It's only $15. You know what I mean? Get in, support it. If you're that interested, go in and see the whole thing. But at the end of the day, though, it still shows. I mean, I probably counted at least 12, 13 people just doing that, and then people coming in and out. And also with the noise, another thing too is when they were track packing with 21 modifieds and speedster and like 15 speedsters on the track, I could hear somebody mowing their lawn when I was walking back to the pits. So it's not that loud. I mean, I know they're only track packing, they're at low RPM and everything, but I shouldn't be able to hear, if it's that loud, I shouldn't be able to hear a lawnmower or somebody mowing their lawn. But I think there's a lot of interest in the town. I think it's just a select few people, and I'm hoping that they keep getting it resolved. The track's doing a great job, doing everything that they need to do to try to fit within their regulations now in the town, and while also still bringing in good racing. They seem to have pretty much all the teams and everybody seem really happy with the place. And the racing has been pretty good. The surface has been much better. So
I'm gonna have to do some reading on this because some of the things that they're doing this year that were mandated to them to do, or did they volunteer these things to get this pushed down the road further? Like, I need to understand a little bit of the timeline because
so they can't go over 65 decibels between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. There's so many different political things here because so many things, pretty much everything else on the fairgrounds is exempt. When they have the 4-wheel jamboree, when they have concerts, when they, anything like that, demo derbies, whatever, that's all exempt from all these regulations. It's only the track that isn't exempt. So it's kind of why.
But that's the thing. Why is this article even a thing? Why is it still in the courts if they have all these mandates already from a previous court thing? Why is it still going? Why is there still something?
So it's basically the judge was now saying, all right, you got these, you have this noise ordinance now. Let's start enforcing it, which I don't know how far they want to go with enforcing it. I know it's a fine, but are they going to is it going to go as far as the cops are going to come in and make them shut it down for the night? I don't think so, but I don't know exactly what enforcing it means other than them having to pay a fine. So, and you don't want to see that either because they're trying to build something there, and I think they're doing a good job doing the right thing. They have some 305 races there and stuff like that later in the year, so they'll probably get some bigger crowds when they bring in some of these other divisions. Right now, it's just kind of their base 4 divisions. Yeah, I don't know. I only see it in the town paper. I don't hear anything else. It's only in the town paper, so I think it's obviously the other side kind of pushing back, trying to scare people maybe. I think most of the town like it. I haven't talked to many people that are like, other than the noise a little bit here and there, and some people that live kind of close to had the dust, but the dust isn't an issue anymore. That was like the first season one. It was absolutely terrible. But I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. Speedster feature was good. Eddie Strada won that one with both the Buck Walters coming in second and third. And then 12-year-old. Oh, man, I just blanked out as I'm trying to read things. I can't believe I'm going to forget his name. I'm not going to forget his name.
Hartwig?
Yes. Paulie Hartwig, the third. 12 years old. He's apparently won a bunch of modified races on asphalt, has now won his first dirt modified feature. And he was sending it. All those modified guys were sending it. It was tight racing, 2-3 grooves, 2.5, I'll say. It was good racing, and he had to hold off a lot of hard chargers there. So it was fun to watch. And when he got out, I was pulling up to Victory Lane to just get pictures and stuff. Again, if you're interested in any of this stuff, I've been putting it all on the Turn 2 Terribles Facebook results and pictures and stuff like that. But when they were saying he's 12 years old, and I'm like, no way. I know a lot of young drivers race those, but he put a whipping on the field, so it was fun to watch. So definitely a name to keep an eye out on, Paulie Hartwig. And definitely, he'll be moving up here quick. 12 years old to be doing that was insane to me.
That's pretty wild. I mean, it's just goes to show you see it more and more. We saw it forever ago on the NASCAR side, and you see it more and more with sprint cars. The younger you can get in, better off you are, in whatever division you're trying to focus in on. So surprising, but also not.
Yeah. Shout out Cody Hartlob. What's up? He's out there watching. Appreciate it.
12-year-olds, I was definitely not thinking about ripping a modified around or much any race car.
No, I mean, I kind of figure, like, if somebody said a 12-year-old run, I would have thought the Slingshots or maybe even the Speedsters. But I know it's a 602 crate mod, but it's still pretty much like a full-size car. Like, it's a pretty wicked thing to be whipping around there. So, pretty wild. They'll be racing again this Thursday. Twin 17-lap features for the 602 mods, plus Speedsters, 4 cylinders, and Slingshots. And then I think they have one more race after that. Spooky Main here says still 400 horsepower in those 602 crates. Still, that's, it's pretty, for a 12-year-old, that's pretty insane.
New Jersey boy would know that. So Friday we got flooded, unless you had more Bloomsburg stuff. Friday we got flooded, so no Williams Grove. Port made the early decision at that point to cancel Sunday's Lucas Oil show, and then Saturday came and they canceled everything. Yeah,
it was a complete wash of the weekend. I really thought we were going to get Friday, and I even,
Saturday. You mean Saturday?
Right as soon as we made a post, it's race day at Port Royal, they canceled. But
I mean, it's part of it. I know, at least reading through the Lincoln post before they had canceled, it was a lot of teams. I know, Bollinger, a lot of teams were already saying they weren't going to go. Kyle Keene was one of them that was still on the fence. Capetta wasn't really sure. And I think that weighs into it. We don't know if we can make it weather-wise, and you have teams saying, well, very reminiscent of a few weeks ago when they forced the issue and that destroyed Aaron Bollinger's entire car for a few weeks, and it was a gnarly crash. I can see why he wouldn't want to go back, and it's part of it. And once Jay-Z gets back and kind of speak to kind of what Path Valley dealt with, it was going to be the same kind of thing, heavy, rough. The teams aren't going to be there. The fans aren't going to be there. Do you really need to force the issue in April, especially when you have the Outlaws coming to town? You have Speed Weeks on the horizon. You have, it's 2 months from Speed Week, but still, Go-Brek. Yeah, it's still close enough that if you
isn't that like that worth it? Is it worth to even unload?
Right, and as a team, all the money to go into it, like you're talking for like a track team alone, just for like Fred to go out there and get the track ready, and then random rainstorm blows in and ruins it all the work. It's like, well,
Yep.
what'd you gain? And I was looking at the radar, and I was good here. The rain was either going north towards the mountains of Port Royal, or they were hitting Hanover. So it's all a matter of that little pop-up hits, and you can't blame them. They at least waited, I guess, to see for sure something was going to happen, and kind of how Friday went. But at least you get to watch football there. Andrew May.
Yeah. Shout out Andrew May. Went in on Saturday. I was up near Hazleton for a little bit and got to watch his semi-pro game. It was actually pretty good. It was in overtime, and they won by 1. And yeah, that was pretty fun to watch. Shout out Andrew May. So yeah, at least I got to see something entertaining on Saturday, I guess.
And Jay-Z had to go all the way to option.
Yeah,
C.
He went all the way to option C.
Found himself in the middle of nowhere, Path Valley.
Yeah.
We thought he may have died because we hadn't heard from him in hours. Got to watch our buddy Brett Perigo and his whole clan race wingless sportsmen's. What else was there? Street stocks, bang bangers,
Thunder cars, I think.
4-cylinders, Thunder cars. Micros.
Yeah, micros for sure. Winged
micros. I think Cold Luis finished 4th. Don't know who won.
Something like that, yeah.
Brett
There's some controversy there, I guess, with the winner.
Yeah, heard some stuff.
So I heard.
I know Brett had a good time running 5th there.
Yeah,
so good time. It sounded like it wasn't a good time, but he was running 5th. And
yeah, there was 21 cars or something like that, and
he finished 9th, and he didn't finish. So
yeah, there was 8 cars that finished. He was running 5th. He was out there sporting that T2T logo. I got to get that picture. Jay-Z has a bunch of pictures. Finally got a good picture of that car in action with the T2T logo on it. It was pretty cool to see. So yeah.
The links on the website, like you can go to Jeremy's website and see it's this whole file up. A lot of cool pictures. Some cool stock car stuff that might come out soon. Really cool stuff. I think the one shot with Steve Wilbur. That's who Brett hit. Steve Wilbur did what they think Brett calls him the godfather of the wingless division.
He's pretty much
the wingless sportsman at Path Valley guy.
So yeah, shout out to them. So let's take a little bit of a look here as we get out here to the future. Let's take a look at the calendar here, courtesy of PA Dirt Track and Creative and Tony Sharp there. So as we look here, going into May, you got the Outlaw tune-up here with the at Williams Grove on Friday, and then you got Port Royal and Lincoln both running Saturday. Lincoln's running their Fallen Firefighters race. So they got a parking lot party going on. Make sure you get out there. This is a cool thing that they do. A lot of things going on around the track from the beginning of the day throughout. So they got cornhole and food going on at 11 a.m., some music, some stuff going on for the kids. It's a free event out in the parking lot of that. So get there early. Go out. The weather's looking pretty decent. Get out of the house after this week of rain and go out and have some fun down at Lincoln. And if you're not going to Lincoln, you got Port Royal as well if you're closer to there. I think they're running 410s, super lates, and 305s. So good program there. So it'd be good for them. I think their Port's 3 for 10 in trying to get races in. So this will be nice for them to, as long as the weather holds up. Then we're looking out. Week after is really when we really start to pick up. We got Lincoln World of Outlaws, which is one of the best shows of the year. We'll be there Wednesday. Rain date shouldn't be needed, hopefully, knock on wood, but that'll be going to Thursday. There's also the Hershey Sprint Car Experience. That'll be at Hershey Park on Thursday. It's a free thing. A lot of drivers: Brock Zierfoss, Chad Trout, Spencer Baston, Brett Marks, Carson Macedo, Anthony Macri, Logan Short, David Gravel, Gio Selzy. they're all going to be there with their. I'm assuming with their cars, but if not, the drivers will be there. Tour their driver rigs, chat with the crew, get meet and greet, sit in an antique race car. A lot of different cool things, free from 4:30 to 7, rain or shine. Definitely go check that out. That's pretty cool deal that was announced, and definitely a cool thing to go check out if you're around in that area. That'll lead us into Morgan Cup weekend, Friday and Saturday at Williams Grove. The first of 3. Well, technically this is the second visit, but we didn't get the first one in. But the first of 3 remaining visits, 2 race weekends here, or 2-day race weekends at Williams Grove. And then we got Selinsgrove on Sunday, so that's pretty much 5 days in a row of sprint car stuff. 4 out of 5 racing. Pretty excited for that. And then we have a regular week the week after between Grove, Port Royal, Lincoln, and then you got BAPS on Sunday. And then week after that, we got the All Stars, and we're getting into Memorial Day weekend. You got Bridgeport All Stars on the 25th, that Thursday. Williams Grove All Stars that Friday. And then Weichert weekend at Port Royal, and you also have Lincoln running that Saturday night as well. The action-packed weekend here. Tony said, I was told by the Hershey School cars and haulers for people to tour them. So that's pretty cool. That's something you usually get to do.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this. I'm getting excited. It really starts to feel like usually once that outlaw date at Lincoln falls, and you start getting into the first Williams Grove weekend, typically, and then Weichert usually is right around the corner. That's really when it feels like the season really starts. Like this felt like kind of like preseason. Everybody's getting their bugs worked out. You still have guys that are still getting to the track. Shout out Jordan Givler and Dakota Kuhn. Looks like they're gonna be getting out to the track for the first time this year, hopefully this weekend. But yeah, so I mean, what are you looking forward to?
Just does not be raining anymore. Obviously, the outlaw shows are ones that we circle for the early season tests. But I think locally the biggest event weekend coming up is probably the Weichert, even more so just because of everyone that we've talked to driver wise loves that bullhead. So
yeah,
it's definitely 2 big weekends there. Kind of split by a local weekend, but I mean, once we get into the May, we got big shows almost every other week, it seems. Speed Weeks comes, and all of a sudden it's Summer Nationals, and now all of a sudden we're prepping for Tuscarora 50 and National. But it's just how bang it goes from here on out. So
yeah. I never went to this Lincoln show, so I'm the Wednesday World of Outlaws show, so I'm going to do that for the first time.
What time are you trying to get there? Because
I'm probably going to
be popping.
Probably I'm hoping to get there by 2.
Yeah, it'll be popping. I went there the last 3 or so years. It's been, I know it's Jay-Z's probably his favorite night of the year, but that race is going to be big.
Yeah, I agree.
Real quick, just the High Limit just released the roster for Wednesday night.
Oh,
couple surprises. Team Ez.
Okay.
Kyle Moody.
Kyle Moody.
Kyle Moody is on the roster.
Must have got bored.
Brady Bacon back, and he's going there. A couple names that I'm not totally familiar with. Caleb Nickel. Darren Knight is going to be at this one again. Chase Randall will be there. Ryan Timms. Frank Rogers. Justin Grant again. We're going to have a Justin Henderson sighting.
Oh, wow.
Brandon Spithaller is going to go out.
That's a
Rico,
shocker.
which we know Rico, obviously. Zach Hampton will be at Kokomo. Emerson Axum again. Blake Hahn, Joby Miller, Jake Swanson.
He's filling in for Alex Bowman.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
That's right. Yep. James McFadden. Yeah. Skylar G. A couple of the names that stand out there, and they're showing 49.
Chris called it. What's that? James McFadden going there.
Right.
Might as
Confirmed.
well.
And
That's where
confirmed.
you gotta go. I mean, at
Yeah.
this point, like, why not? You're gonna be so far. Even if you get half this penalty, you're gonna be so far out of points. What do you really care? So what Reitzel did
No.
when they had their issue.
Yep. And speaking of, leaving the porch, I don't know if you talked about it while I was going there, but Lance Deweese's announcement.
Yeah, he's getting out there. He's going to
Ohio.
They're not just going off the front porch. They're leaving the front lawn and the city limits.
They're going to Ohio before Eldora.
Yeah, they're going
they're also going to Wisconsin. And
Atomic on Thursday, and then they're racing Eldora, the Let's Race 2 this weekend, and then they did post in the beginning of June. They're going all the way out to Wisconsin, so doing some traveling, a little more than you see from the 69K. We've seen them go out like once or twice, but that's a couple early ones for them. So that's exciting to see.
And Tony, you want to read Tony's thing there?
Yeah.
Drivers
So
for
Tony,
the parking lot party.
Yeah, for the parking lot party on Saturday at Lincoln, some of these drivers that will be there on Saturday, we got Chad Trout, Dal Schott, Dalton Dietrich, Billy Dietrich, Tyler Ross, Brandon Raymer, Scott Fisher, Aaron Bollinger, and Brett Strickler, Zach Allman, Dylan Norris, and 358's Ashley Capetta, Jordan Strickler, Tyler Rutherford, Chris Frank, and Wyatt Hinkle. That's just
lots of friends of the show there.
For sure.
Like,
so definitely go check it out again. The parking lot party there. Like I said, cornhole, food, stuff going on all day before a good event there on Saturday. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah, it's always a fun one. I went to that last year, and kind of where I met Aaron Bollinger. We'd raced on iRacing, I think, a little bit, and I actually met him in person there, and really get to see a lot of the people before they get their night started, before you get in the pits, and before they're stressed out and trying to get things ready to go. So it's a fun environment, fun night all the way around, and for a great cause. So
yeah, absolutely.
So JC, we covered Path Valley the best we could. So does the Land of Nowhere rough. I don't know if you want to touch on what we talked about. Just some little nuggets we had. We don't know who won anything actually.
And like so it was awesome. I hadn't been there in quite a few years, but it was like I remembered. But they improved a lot. So they improved a lot of things. The seating, you could really tell, was upgraded. For the fans, I didn't get over to that side. The pits are kind of what I remembered. I'm sure there were improvements, but the pits were kind of what I remembered. The racetrack looked great. But from the story I got was in a driver's meeting, it said this is going to be the bumpiest, heaviest, fastest version of this place you're ever going to have. And that was just with the hands, the card hands they were dealt with the weather. But everybody was kind of warned, and they knew what they were, getting into a little bit, and it lived up to that every word. In all divisions, I think the stock car division probably had it the easiest as far as stability. But if you were in an open wheel car, you were on the edge. We saw a lot of, unfortunately, big crashes in the Wingfield Super Sportsman. I think they started 21 and 8-9 finish maybe. Multiple red flags. As soon as they would take the green flag, it was red flag, and there were some big ones. Thankfully, to my knowledge, everybody did walk away. One guy was shooken up pretty good. But the 600 micros they rip around that place. Wing 600 micros rip around that place. Alec Quiggle won that feature. Beautiful car, by the way. Green, black, 32, gold. Very, very nice. Randy Kunkel Jr. finished second in that race, and there was a picture that I took that he was up over the berm in the air and landed on the left rear tire, and he finished he finished third in this race. It was actually Gary Smith. He was, I don't know how, he was basically upside down, and he drove through the infield back onto the track. He ended up finishing third in this race. It was unbelievable. Cole DeWeese, Lance Deweese's son, P4. First time I got to see him race in person. He definitely is the anti-Lance Deweese. He was ripping the top in the heat when he didn't need to be, but he was for that car was ripping the top. So that was an entertaining race for sure. The Legends race, the winner, Devin Freeze. It's not a name I'm hugely familiar with, and that's probably on me. But he started, back half of the top 10, drove through and passed some really good race cars and won that. It was a pretty cool victory lane. They had a huge crowd of people, and I think maybe two of his sons are racing in the division. If I'm looking at it here, where is he at? 23rd, Colton Freeze. He was DNF, and there might have been another one in another division because there was two other ones and had race suits on. So, but Sam Leonard won the Wingless Super Sportsman feature, held off Derek Schaefer. And I think Derek Schaefer was probably faster than Sam Leonard in that race, but he just could not get away around him. They were both running the bottom, and I think Derek was afraid to kind of leave the bottom because it was pretty narrow. I mean, you could run up there, but you weren't fast. And I'll tell you what, Derek Schaefer, I don't know much about him, but that boy was ripping in that car. So it was fun to watch him try to do that. Kurt Stroop finished third. That's a name we know. Brandon Shearer fourth. Trent Yoder fifth. Round out top five. Steve Wilbur was running, I want to say fifth, and our friend of the show, Brett Perigo, ran him over. Just aggressively ran him over. Blew up, took out no, he didn't. They just backed up and blew out a left rear tire. He pitted and came back out. So 4 cylinders, I did not stay for, but Justin Rasp won. I heard he was a repeat winner at the racetrack there. And the 270 micros, Kyle Hendershot won that race. So Mike Rutherford second, and Sean McAndrew third, excuse me, and then fourth and fifth were Craig and Corey Myers, excuse me. Those guys have raced 270s forever in Central PA. So 2 big names there for sure if you know them. But it definitely was heavy and rough and muddy all night. Friend of the show, actually, Brett Perigo, said he ran out of Terrells on like lot 10.
Yeah.
And scraping mud, from the rest of the way. So pretty. Okay. So Cody Hartlaw, he raced with, it looks like Derek Schaefer there, raced go-karts with him. He was a sub driver in a state series race when he broke his arm. So he was ripping in that thing, man. He was getting after it. So no, I enjoyed every minute of it from start to finish. The amount of people that were there to support it for the race teams was super impressive. I'm looking, there was 2 B mains, but you had 4 division of cars. 24 started 270s, 16 for the Thunder cars, 4 cylinders Thunder cars, 21 of the Wingless Super Sportsman, 27 Legends, and 21 600 micros. So you add that up at $35 a head for just all that. They did really well. They tried their best to keep the show moving. Just red flag after red flag after red flag was challenging for sure. But I was very glad I made the trip out. It was fun.
Yeah, I'd like to get out there one day. I've never been out there.
Really?
Yeah, no, I never.
Cool. Middle of the mountain. You're middle of 2 mountains. You can literally see, but like think Port Royal, but the mountains are literally right beside the track.
I got you.
Like the track is on one mountain, and you can look over outside the pits, and there's the other mountain. Like it's pretty cool scenery. It's on a hill. It's pretty cool, and they've done a great job with that facility.
I know they've been doing a lot of upgrades over the years. They got a midget race, Extreme Midgets, which is pretty big for them. And they have a good weekly turnout every week. It seems like even when the weather was bad, they still got quite a few people out. So it's good to hear. They took a shot with the way the weather was, and it sounds like it worked out for them. So, and shout out Brett Perigo again, for running that T2T logo.
Showing out. And that made that decision even easier. I honestly, if Brett wasn't there, I'm not sure I'd have been swayed enough to run out there.
Yeah.
But we have our sticker on the car, both myself and Turn 2 Terribles. Couldn't not see him race when there was nothing else competing closer to home. I had to get out there, so I worked out with my schedule with the family, so it was worth it for sure.
We'll see him at the Weikert in a few.
Damn right.
4 weeks.
Yep.
He's gonna win.
He said he's going to be. He's going to be banging the boards in his Sportsman.
He's never run the top in his life.
One last thing for Saturday at Lincoln from Tony Sharp here. If you purchase an early general admission ticket at the fireman tent, same cost, $20, Lincoln will donate $4 from each sold back to the Fallen Firefighters Association. That's a really cool deal. Definitely a lot of cool things going on for a good cause there on Saturday. So definitely, if you're in the area and you were trying to get out, get to the track and
make a day of it.
Fun. Make a day of it.
We got
So,
next.
let's wrap it up, I guess. Instead of drinking a dump it, I think we were going to do top 5 Posse drivers so far in 2023. We'll give our top 5s. You guys in the chat, we're talking strictly 410s. Give us your top 5. What do you think? Who do you think has been the best so far out of the Posse drivers this season? Any of you guys want to go, or you want me to go?
I'll go because mine would be easy.
Writing my thoughts down here.
All right, I'm gonna go just because my criteria is probably different than yours. I mean, obviously they're gonna win, but just people that I think are impressed me. Gotta go Brent Marks, Anthony Macri, 1, 2.
Does that count?
1A.
Yeah, I'm counting them. Yeah, but
he won his race in Williams Grove, so he's Posse. In fact, we couldn't keep going. Brady Bacon was there that night. He's Posse too.
Traffic and Central PA points.
Well, this is
I think it's Williams Grove points.
This is Williams Grove points.
Just Williams Grove. Okay.
Yeah, just Williams Grove. So
right. So I was gonna go. If we take Brent off, I mean, I'm still counting Macri, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go Macri. Danny's been extremely consistent. Didn't get that win at Stevens Grove, but been up there if he hasn't had bad luck. Devin Borden. So if we count Brent, is that 5?
Go through that again.
Brent Marks, Anthony Macri, Danny Dietrich, Devin Borden.
That's 4.
Okay.
So who's your 5th?
I'm torn between like 4 options right now. I would say, I mean, the one that's impressed me most that's not there would be Kyle Moody and just how he's run.
Yeah.
Everywhere else. That's kind of the name that popped in my head when I put that out there about impressive. I mean, he's been up there in that top 5, challenging them most nights this year already, and that's something I haven't seen him do on this consistent of a basis in previous years.
I'm going with DD number 1. I'm taking number 2 as Macri/Brent because to me they've won a race. They're here sort of part-time right now. They haven't been around a ton. So I'm cheating a little bit, not taking up an extra spot that I think people deserve. Number 3 is Devin Borden. Number 4 is Freddie. Number 5 is Dylan Cisney. Dylan has won a race. He almost won Stevens Grove. He's had some really good runs this season, been very consistent, shown consistent speed. My honorable mention there is Kyle Moody for sure.
Yep.
Very consistent speed this year, aggressive. I think that partnership with him and Kyle Pruitt has really done wonders for Kyle. Been super impressive there. But I think Freddie has to be in the conversation. He hasn't won in a couple of weeks, but we were just talking about him going on a tear. So but if it's truly weekly, in town guys, it's DD, Borden, Freddie, Cisney, and Moody. But the Macri Marks debate, I'm with you, because I think if they ran more races here, they'd probably be 1 and 2, tied 1 and 2, and Danny right there behind them. Danny only has 1 win on the season, but he has all these second places. He had a shitty run at Baps, but went from 2 crashes to 4th, 3rd. So things go right for Danny a time or two. He's gonna quickly
amend mine following the Jay-Z rules and take the Macri Marks thing. Put up for your spot up. I'm adding Chase Dietz to the list.
Oh yeah, I mean, how couldn't you? When he has shown up, right? I
when
he's
he
right
races,
there.
He's there.
Yeah, that Cisney, Moody, Chase Dietz, debate, and Chase has won a race. So, I love where we're at right now as a group at the top end of the Posse. When the Outlaws are here in town, you're gonna have Danny, Macri, Brent, Borden, Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
They're ready to go, and we went from talking 18 months ago to about holy crap, what's 2022 going to look like from Posse land? Who's gonna take up that mantle, right? With we didn't put Lance in this conversation. He's won a race this year, but they just haven't raced a lot. But we always talked about Danny and Lance were those 2 guys. That was it. We didn't really put Brent and Macri on a radar as far as every single outlaw race contender winners going into 2022. And where did we end up out of 2022? Going, holy crap, we got some boys. Mm-hmm. So now we're in 2023, and you throw Borden in that mix, and you throw Freddie's time trial improvement into that mix. You got 5-6 guys now who, any given night, they're battling for themselves to win an outlaw race. So I think we're in really good shape right now, and keep improving our group, and they're still gonna be looking out for the Posse when they come to town.
Yeah, for sure. I still count them, but I will for my list, I'll combine them into one, and I have them third. I have Borden 1, Danny 2. Just eye test 2, not just I mean, they got wins. Danny looks super impressive. Finally got a win at Selinsgrove, but they've been really fast. I think Borden's have been probably the most consistently fast, to be honest, out of all of them. And then I had Lance 5th, but I'll move him up to 4th. Listen, until Lance is not a threat to win in that 69K car, and I don't care if he shows up 2 times, if he shows up 12 times, he's a threat to win no matter when he shows up. And he's been honestly running more. I feel like they've been running more weekly when we have had races than they have in the past. So probably since 2020. I mean, 2020 was kind of the exception, but
opening day at Port Royal, remember they were so far off. It seemed like they weren't the Lance Luis and the 69K that we remembered. So, and they came out and they got it figured out the last 2 Winners Grove races. They got the win, obviously, and
battled it out with Borden.
Everything looks
the next race there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they were slicing and dicing through traffic.
Everything seems to be just fine now.
Yeah.
About him running weekly, and it seems like it's more, but we haven't ran very much. So like you're seeing him as a percentage of the races that we've run in Central PA, he's run more than normally would have because we just haven't ran that much compared to most years. So,
and that's what the list is of 2023 so far, what we've seen. So from what I've seen, he's a top 5. He's got to be in there.
It felt weird not putting him there, but
that was a little uncomfortable. But
it was strange for sure. And you're not wrong. I mean, between that Cisney, Deweese, Moody, Dietz, after Borden and Freddie, and there's that group right there, and they've all won a race. Cisney's won a race, Moody's won a race, Deweese won a race. It's weird putting those 3 names together if you're an outsider going, really? But what we've witnessed this year, that makes sense, right? In this moment right now, taking history aside, when Lance could go out and win 20 races in a season, 2023, they're in that group of consistently up near the front.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll take Macri and Marks completely off. So I'll go Borden, Danny, and then Lance. And then it is kind of tough. I'll go Freddie, and I'll go Chase Dietz to round up the top 5. I think Cisney and Moody are definitely right there, but I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those guys. But I really think for every race Dietz has ran, he's been probably top 10 at least.
Do this next week after Billy wins Friday night in the 12 car.
Hey, did you see his YouTube about Selinsgrove? How it ended up? They were really happy with. Yeah. They were really happy at the end of the night. Selinsgrove. They moved up. They moved through the field a little bit and felt really good about where they got to.
I'm telling you, time trial show. I think Friday. Let her eat, Bill.
Yeah, well, yeah. Time trial show on Friday. That's good for the tune-up. So I think we're kind of consensus where Danny's in the top 1 or 2. Depending if you want to count Marks or Macri. They're right there.
If we don't count, are they really Posse though?
Those are the
They 100% are, but that weekly I've seen Brent race once this year, twice this year, right? Like I missed the Williams Grove Friday night, but it's a couple races. He's raced 3 races in Central PA, maybe of the 10 or 12. So
when I made my original top 5, it was Borden, Danny, Marks, Macri, and Marks, Macri, 3rd and 4th, kind of with the mindset of they haven't been racing here every week, but I guess we could combine them into one and kind of throw them in there. We know they're the guys.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're both going to travel some, and Brent is kind of, my opinion, unless something changes and in weather, he could show up anywhere, any weekend. But you kind of have the spots picked out where he's going to be. He's going to be in town for all the outlaw stuff. He's going to follow the Outlaws on, the big Eldoras and Knoxvilles. And there's even a couple he's already surprised me. He was going to be home to run Port this weekend and not run the Outlaw shows that were back to back and stuff like that. So who knows where we see him? He was committed early in the season, run all of PA Speed Week, so we'll see. See where the wind takes him. But if Macri's back in town for all of that too, we could have a hell of a Speed Week battle between Macri, Marks, and Danny. It could be fun to watch this year, and depending on the outsiders, So and the last couple of years have been that way, right? With Larson a couple of years back, and then Brent and Danny and Macri. Macri was dominating that Speed Week that Brent won, and then had a motor blow up, and it kind of hurt his chances at it. But if you're going to win Speed Week around here, you better be top 5 ready every night. You better be there, and you better win a couple. So it's pretty cool.
I agree. I think a couple honorable mentions that are kind of like if there was a top 10, they'd be teetering into the top 10. That 2 drivers that have kind of caught my eye. Austin Bishop, for one, I've talked about him before. He's been, no matter which car he's in, he's been
sneaky good, consistent.
Sneaky good, very consistent, up in that top 10. And also Kyle Reinhardt, he's been pretty much back here as Posse now, running weekly, and he's been very good. He's been consistent top 10 as well.
He'll win a couple races this year.
I agree. I think he will. More laps. It seems like the more laps he gets, the better he's been getting. Same thing with Bishop too, as well. So those are 2 guys to definitely keep an eye on. So again, let us know in the comments who you think your top 5 are. If you're listening to this later, let us know. Yeah. Anything else, guys?
Looking forward to this weekend. Get back to Williams Grove. I will be there Friday. All things, unless something majorly goes wrong between now and then. Should be there. 358s. Kyle Keen, our buddies, all going to be there.
Yeah, double duty for him. Him getting back out there. He'll be out there Williams Grove Friday and Lincoln on Saturday. So that'll be good to see them get back out there. Shout out to Keen Motorsports. Yeah. Jay-Z? Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm here. I don't know where I'm going to be this weekend. I may not be anywhere. I might not make it to anything. So I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of stuff here at the house. Kids running this way, kids running that way. I got a Sweet 16 coming with one kid, and I got another kid going in that direction, and then another in that direction, and the 2 ends going in those directions. So I don't know where I'm going to be this weekend. Maybe nowhere, maybe both. We'll see. But if not, I'll be watching somewhere somehow. I'll figure it out. Is anything broadcast? Was Friday night on Dirt Vision with the Grove?
Friday night will be Dirt Vision.
Is
Port
Flow,
will be Flow.
Port will be on Flow. Is Lincoln on Flow this weekend?
No.
With this race?
No,
won't
they
be.
are not.
Yeah, that's
they are not broadcasted this week.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. When life gets in the way, I'd love to be able to support my guys and watch them.
Yeah.
How's that? All right. That's all I got.
So, yeah, I'll probably be. I'm thinking I'm going to go to Port, just because that's the closest one for me. So, and good shows there. 305s are always a good time there, and
for sure,
be good to get back there with the weather being nice.
Let us know the content you want to see. I'll try to get more Williams Grove stuff in the pits and such like that. So
keep an eye on the socials. We're going to have some clips. We actually just hit a year. We were talking about this earlier. We just kind of hit a year on starting this podcast, and it's completely changed the past couple months. We've completely different from what it was a year ago, but kind of just looking back on a couple past interviews over the past couple months, we're going to try to get some clips out there and revisit some things. So just keep an eye out. We'll be trying to get some more content out to you guys. And yeah. Oh, I plan on going to Bloomsburg on Thursday too. And that, if it
I mean, Ryan Smith doesn't care about your feelings. He does not care that you're going to Bloomsburg.
But
not that Ryan Smith.
The weather doesn't look good, so we'll see about that. But yeah, if wherever you live at in the state or even outside of state, get to a track, get out there, support your local tracks, support your drivers. That's how this thing goes around. So
thanks, everybody.
Shout out Keen Motorsports. Shout out Tony Sharp with PA Dirt Track and Creative and their graphics. And shout out to all you guys. Have a good week.